that Russian fighter jet. He was speaking from the Russian city of Sochi just a couple of hours ago.
This is a stab in the back. The pilot did not threaten anyone. Either way, our pilots and our plane were not posing a threat to Turkey. This tragic event will have serious consequences for Russian-Turkish relations. We have always regarded Turkey not only as a close neighbor, but also as a friendly state. I don't know who wanted what was done today, but we didn't, in any case. Instead of contacting us immediately, Turkey addressed their NATO partners as if it was us who downed their plane, not vice versa. Our jet fell 6 kilometers away from the border, within Syrian airspace.
Maria Lipman is an independent political analyst. She joins us now live from Moscow. You heard what President Putin had to say about this incident. What do you make of it?
Well, very tough rhetoric indeed, and of course the stab in the back that everyone paid attention to. I would still point out that President Putin is warning about consequences to the Russian-Turkish relations, not to Russian-NATO relations, even though Turkey is a member of NATO. And we have not heard any definitive statements from any of the NATO countries at this point. So I guess there, or rather I hope, there will be strong desire on members of the world community to show common sense and not to allow this really tragic incidents to evolve into something even more tragic and larger scale.
Was an incident of this nature more or less inevitable, given the proximity, the area in which Russian jets were operating just across the border in northern Syria?
Yes, indeed. And in fact, this is not the first episode. Of course, this is the first tragic incident of a Russian jet being downed. However, Turkey warned and made also angry statements several times, including in early October, when a Russian jet did violate the Turkish airspace. And the Russian Ministry of Defense admitted that and said that was a mistake. At that point, Turkey also made an angry statement, and I think President Erdogan also warned that he may be thinking of even breaking relations with Russia. That did not happen, and since then there have been contacts between the Turkish president and the Russian President Putin. So there was not a desire at earlier points to aggravate the relations and to lead it to a point where the two countries cannot communicate. So now it is not clear what exactly happened. Indeed, we have two truths now, one coming from the Russian government and the other coming from the Turkish government. I think this means that indeed it is not quite clear, it is not crystal clear what happened, where the plane was, at what moment it was downed, and this possibly also leaves space for discussions, for negotiations, and for preventing any more tragic developments from this point.
How, Maria, do you think Russia will respond to this incident? Militarily, diplomatically, economically?
I think we should differentiate between Russian reaction aimed at targeting the domestic audience. We heard President Putin's very angry, very tough statements. I'm sure we'll hear more of tough statements saying that this is totally inadmissible and Russia was stabbed in the back. And Putin referred to Turkey at this point as abettors of terrorists. This means that in the Russian environment where what Putin says is then picked up by all the political class and all the loyalists in the country, so the talk will be even tougher. However, speaking about what Russia is likely to do, I hope this will not be along the military lines. After all, Turkey is a member of NATO. But there are ways to act diplomatically and economically, and I think we will see some movement from Russia in those 2 points.
And as far as the international attempts to build some sort of coalition to take on ISIL in a much more coordinated way, do you think this incident will make Russia much more reluctant to fall into line?
there is not one line there. There are different countries fighting ISIS in different fashions, and we have points of contention between different forces that say that they are fighting ISIS with regard to what they think of President Assad, right? What they think about what the future for Syria should be. There is no one line there. It's not that Russia is alone against everybody else. Russia found allies, for instance, in Iran, and President Putin had contacts with Iranian leaders just very recently. But what we had recently was some sort of a very cautious rapprochement, or an attempt to cooperate in the war against terror between Russia and France, first and foremost, and even the United States. Now, this incident now between Turkey, a NATO member and an ally of the United States and many European countries, and Russia, will certainly not help these very tentative, very cautious attempt to maybe work together on the war on terror with regard to Syria.